now with the second way of heat transfer, which is called convection. Remember, my friends, we said that conduction occurs mainly in solids, and it occurs within one object. The heat is transferred from the part of this object with high thermal energy to the part with low thermal energy until the whole object gets the same temperature, which is hot, or between two objects that are in contact. They have to be touching each other in order to allow the particles to transfer the heat or transfer thermal energy from the particles of high thermal energy to the next particles with the low thermal energy. Now for convection, it occurs in fluids. Can you remember, my friends, when we said that fluids are any kinds of matter that can flow, any kinds of matter or any states of matter that can flow? We have two states of matter that can flow, which are, remember, liquids and gases. Liquids and gases, both of them are considered as fluids because they can flow easily. In this way of heat transfer, which is convection, it occurs only in fluids or only in liquids and gases. It cannot occur in solids. What occurs in solids is conduction only. What happens during convection? Let's explain on this picture. Here, my friends, the particles of water which are inside the pan, which particles would have more thermal energy? The particles at the lower part here or the particles at the higher part? For sure the particles at the lower part, because they are exposed directly for the heat from the stove or the source of heat. So what would happen for these particles when they are exposed to high temperature? The particles will gain more thermal energy, So these particles will be able to move more freely. So what would happen? They will have less density. As the particles have less density, so they will move upward. As you see here, taking the place of other particles at the upper part of the pan. So these particles will replace them and go down. So the particles of the upper part of the pan will go down and exposed to more heat, right? So they will have more thermal energy, so the particles can move faster and move more freely, so they will have lower density, so they will go up, and the particles at the upper part will go down, and so on. This is like a circular motion of the particles. This circular motion is called convection current. It's called what? Convection current. Convection current is the movement of fluid caused by differences in temperature. As we said, that the lower part of the water has high thermal energy because it's exposed directly to the source of heat, and the upper part of the water have lower thermal energy or lower temperature because it's far away from the source of heat. So these particles will make this circular motion that transfers heat from one part of the fluid to another, and this is called convection current. Again, what the meaning of convection current? This the movement of fluid or circular movement of fluid caused by differences in temperature. How differences in temperature? Because the temperature at the lower part is higher than the temperature at the higher part. That transfers heat from one part of the fluid to another, right? This is called the convection current, or how the heat is transferred between the particles of water. Can we apply this on the particles of the air, for example? Yes, we can apply it to the particles of the air. As you see here, in this room contains a heater, which is used for sure in winter. what happens? What happens here that the air that's at the lower part of the room is exposed directly to the heater, right? So what would happen to the particles of the air here? The particles of the air will have higher thermal energy and higher temperature, so the particles will be able to move more freely, so they will have lower density. So what would happen? They will be moved from the lower part of the room to the upper part of the room. And the particles at the upper part of the room, which have higher density than the hot particles, will go down. So they will be exposed again to the heat from the heater and have high thermal energy and move backward and so on. This is the circular movement or the convection current that causes the whole air inside the room to be hot. That causes the whole air inside the room to be hot. As you see here, this is the shape of the convection current. The part of the water or the liquid or any fluid, even if it is a gas, is exposed to high temperature. So the particles at the lower part will have more thermal energy, so they will move more freely, so they will have low density, they will move forward. The particles at the upper part, they will move downward. So this is the circular motion or the convection current that causes the whole water to have high temperature. So heat can transfer within fluids by convection, and it occurs only in liquids and gases. Take care. Conduction, especially for one object, within one object, or between two objects that are in contact. And it occurs mainly, when I say mainly, it doesn't mean that it has to be only between solids, but it's more common in solids. But for convection, it occurs only in fluids, liquids, or gases. Convection is a type of heat transfer that occurs only in fluids. And we said that it occurs by convection current. What is convection current? It's the movement of a fluid caused by difference in temperature that transfers heat from one part of liquid to another. So my friends, now we have learned about two methods of heat transfer, which are conduction and convection. Conduction that occurs mainly in solids, and it occurs within one object or between two objects that are in contact. And convection, which occurs only in fluids. These fluids may be liquids or gases, and it occurs by convection current.